Hello and welcome to Don't Get Your Feathers in a Twist. My name's Jane and I'm a holistic practitioner, and this is my podcast. It's not polished, but it's real. So today I'm going to talk to you about trauma. What is trauma? Trauma is when we experience very stressful, frightening, or maybe distressing events that are difficult to cope with or can be out of control. It could be one incident, or it could be an ongoing event that happens over a long period of time, or even a short period of time. It's really hard to define what trauma is. Everyone experiences trauma at some time in their life. Some people cope with it better than others. There's different types of trauma. There's acute trauma, big T trauma, little t trauma, whatever you want to define it as. At the end of the day, in my book, trauma is trauma. You can have the same issue and have 10 people in the room and they can all deal with that differently. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. Everyone is just themselves. So I think it's really key to understand that for this podcast, I'm going to talk about trauma in a very simplistic way. However, it's not simplistic in itself. So another thing we always associate with trauma is PTSD. Now, whenever you think of PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, it's often referred to in the context of the armed forces. Now, obviously, they experience the condition after they've fought for our country. But really, it can apply to anyone. If you look in the Oxford English Dictionary, it defines PTSD as a condition of persistent mental and emotional stress occurring as a result of injury or severe psychological shock, typically involving disturbance of sleep, constant vivid recall of the experience, with dulled responses to others and to the outside world. Trauma is trauma. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what you do for a job, doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter how old you are. It's not picky. It can happen to anybody. And for me, trauma is an adaptation of life. You're not necessarily born with trauma. Things happen to you. You experience trauma. So if you imagine if you were walking into a shop and you've got your bag with you and all of a sudden somebody comes up and robs you, you're then left with mainly feelings of stress, anxiety, worry, frustration, upset, because you've just been robbed. The incident is the robbery, but the result and what you're left with is a traumatic experience. The trauma of the emotions, the trauma of the images, and reliving that robbery time and time again and thinking, I can't go in that shop anymore, I can't go out on my own because I might get robbed. You can have that in the smallest instant. And people might say, oh, no, it's fine. I didn't like that bag anyway. There was nothing in it. It was only kids messing around. And then it could be much more serious. But trauma is trauma. And people hold on to these emotions, negative feelings, images, thoughts, emotions and sensations because they don't know how to let go. They don't know how to deal with it. And they just think, I'll put it to the back of my mind. I'll just bury it down there. That'd be fine, I'll be fine, I'll just get up and get on with it, dust myself down, get on and move on to the next thing. Now, a lot of people do that, but PTSD and trauma, for me, very similar, one of the same if you like, and I'm talking very simplistically here, but trauma is trauma. You still have negative feelings, you still have negative images, you still have negative thoughts. You still have negative emotions and sensations, whether it's about being robbed in a shop or whether it's fighting in the armed forces. And the armed forces do an amazing job, by the way. But it's still the same to those people that are involved in it. The gravity and the feelings and how they feel are still extremely important and still very strong. So if you imagine a soft drinks bottle, fizzy drinks bottle, okay? And over time, as you're born, you gradually start filling up that fizzy drinks bottle with negativity. All the positivity in the world. It doesn't matter. No one thinks about positivity. You could be told you're the most amazing person on the planet for the next 20 days. But for day 21, somebody tells you you're not. You forget all the 20 days and just concentrate on that day 21. So if you imagine that day 21 keeps going in that fizzy drinks bottle, you're filling it up over time, and it's getting fuller and fuller and fuller, and the top's almost going to come off on its own. If you imagine that all of a sudden somebody says something to you, and that's the last bit that can go in your fizzy drinks bottle, it's almost like somebody's shaking it up like a snow globe, shaking it all up all over the place, and you just burst. That's it. I've had enough. I'm absolutely done. That's it. I can't do it anymore. Can't go on anymore. Whatever you choose to react, let go, release. Now, what hypnotherapy can help with is we can take that fizzy drinks bottle and we can gradually start to empty it. Empty it so it's halfway full. Empty it so it's nearly, only a third left. Maybe a couple of drops in the bottom, depending on what we do. But essentially then, if someone shakes that bottle when there's a couple of drops in the bottom, you're fine, you can cope with it, you're absolutely okay. Because you've got plenty of room. You've had the experience, you know how to deal with it, you haven't got anything else that's going to tip you over the edge. So with hypnotherapy, we can go in and do an emotional detox. We don't need to relive everything that you've been through. We can get rid of the negativity, the feelings, images, thoughts, emotions, sensations. We can clear and release all that type of stuff. That then allows you to manage anything else that comes your way, because that bottle will refill. It has to. It's human life. We're humans. We're going to attract negativity regardless if we're the most positive person in the world. We every day get up, you go to the shops, you go walking, you drive your car, you go to work, whatever you do, you can be very lucky to live the rest of your life 100% positive with no other things going wrong. So let's get that fizzy drinks bottle empty to allow you to move forward. And then also what it does, it allows you to manage anything that happens. It allows you to react differently. You learn through what you've just gone through how to react and how to move forward with it. There's coping mechanisms that can be given. Emotional freedom techniques are brilliant. So hypnotherapy, the style that I do, doesn't need to live. You don't need to relive the experiences that you've gone through. So if you just think of it another way as well, the issue is never the issue. Someone will say, I've got a fear of horses because of this, that and the other. But do they really know what happened? Do they really? Now, some people will, don't get me wrong. But if something happened when you were 2 or 3 and you've grown up with a fear of horses, it could be that it's a learned behaviour from a parent or a loved one, or friends or family. Or it could be that something happened to you when you were younger and it's not really connected with the horses. It's just something that happened and the horses were there. So that's what we need to get to. What is the real issue? And we'll never know what the real issue is because we just deal with the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind doesn't have to tell us what the issue is. So we just release everything, and we start to release everything, all of those negative feelings, images, thoughts, emotions and sensations that have been holding you back. Then 9 times out of 10, everyone says, I've just seen this, I've just whatever that was, I wasn't aware that I was holding on to that. And this is the thing, you think you know what the issue is, but 9 times out of 10 it's not that. There are instances where that is the issue, but mainly it's not. I would say probably 99% is not, if not a bit more. So trauma, PTSD, big trauma, small trauma, acute trauma, whatever you want to call it, hypnotherapy is a really good way of releasing all the negative feelings, images, thoughts, emotions, sensations, and putting in its place some love and some positivity or whatever it is that you need to be feeling or need to be told or need to have to make the best version of you. If you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling you're suffering from PTSD, You don't have anything to lose. Just book a complimentary call and we'll just go through how you're feeling. Do you not want to get up in the morning? Do you have to sleep with the curtains open? Whatever it is, let's have a conversation about it. And I can say, yeah, we can do this, this and this going forward. And then it's up to you. So I would always start with a content-free first bit of the session and then move on to NLP and whatever I need to then do, which is then this is where I then flex the sessions. I respond to what you're showing me, telling me, or what your subconscious is allowing us to see. So just imagine what it would be like to get up tomorrow, trauma-free. Just to be able to leave the house. Just imagine now what that would feel like. No habits of checking the door 5, 6, 7 times. Not having to check that all the plugs are unplugged before you go to bed or before you leave the house. Just imagine now what that would be like. Trauma-free. You can do this. We don't have to relive the trauma. We do it in a safe, calm way. Invest in you. You're worth it.
Thank you for listening to Don't Get Your Feathers in a Twist. Please check out my website www.7purplefeathers.com, and if you've got any questions, queries or comments, please get in touch.